If you want to sell more of your high ticket coaching offer, the one thing you have to realize is you got to focus on the mindset of your prospect first. Because if they don't have the right set of beliefs and they're not in the right frame of mind to even hear the details of your offer is going to be dead on arrival every single time. This is a hard lesson that I learned when I was first selling high ticket items. I would just kind of plow into that offer. I thought the best offers that I had, if I just laid them out for my audience, I would get acceptances all the time. What I did is, I kind of worked backwards and I kind of realized that, okay, depending on who I was working with, if they weren't in the right frame of mind, if they didn't have the right set of beliefs to even listen to my offer, it wasn't going to matter how great of a pitch I was going to make or how great those details are about that offer, or even how great that coach was that I was partnering with. That offer was just not going to do as well as it could if I didn't spend as much time focusing on the mindset and establishing the right beliefs for those prospects so that they are in the right position to actually listen and believe that that coaching offer can work for them. So I'm going to jump into it today, kind of the one belief that your prospects need to know before they can even hear your offer, regardless of what industry you're in, what prospects, audiences you deal with. You got to really focus on that one belief that they need to have to kind of propel them forward into your offer. So it's the first time joining one of my lives. I'm Brian Czekanski, and I help coaches, experts, in particular, 10x their high ticket sales. I do that without any expensive funnels or sales calls whatsoever, but really focus on having email one-to-one conversations, partnering with the right coaches and experts, and really doing all the selling on their behalf, closing 10, 20, 30K type coaching offers, and delivering those clients to them on a silver platter. And all they have to worry about is fulfillment. And I take on all the risk as well. So I don't ask for any upfront investment. I kind of prove my process out and show them that I can close people all via email without any sales calls whatsoever. So again, one of the things that I realized as I went through this process in terms of closing people via email, DMs, all those kind of things, is the one thing you have to have in the right frame of mind, even if you are using sales calls, is you have to establish, there's usually one belief that your audience kind of has to have for that offer to go well. So I'll give you a few examples just to make it a little bit more tangible for you. So to give an example, I worked with a series of different marriage coaches over the last few weeks, but one marriage coach in particular that I worked with, his whole philosophy and way of doing things for the prospects, they had to believe that one person in a marriage could be able to improve it. So if both, most people believe that, if a relationship is going to go well, marriage is going to be revitalized, that two people have to be on board doing that action straight away. But he has a series of different testimonials. He has a whole process that's all about how one person can really revitalize and reawaken a marriage all by themselves by taking very specific action. So again, before they even heard his offer, I had to establish the belief in my audience's mind that this is possible. So I used some of those testimonial stories. I used his own story to kind of share and to start to change that, that core belief that most people have that, it takes two to tango. But in this case, one person can make a huge difference. And I had to prove that out. I had to establish that belief, because if they didn't have that belief, his coaching program was, again, going to be dead on arrival in that instance. So another fitness coach that I worked with, all about kind of stimulating the metabolism. It was all about, most people believe to lose weight, they have to work out endlessly, 5 to 7 days a week. His whole program was all about 3 days of 45-minute workouts at most that kind of stimulated that metabolism, having the right diet, all those kind of things. So kind of flip the script on conventional wisdom. So again, I had to establish kind of, everybody has that wisdom of the more you exercise, the more you're going to lose weight. In this instance, it was kind of exercise light. So again, I had to kind of shift their beliefs in terms of how exercise is not as important as they think it is, how other things that they could focus on, like stress and diet and all those kind of things, can increase their metabolism, increase their fat burning, and get them going in the right direction. A couple other examples just off the top of my head in terms of what we're looking for. So again, like a midlife mastery coach that I worked with, kind of worked with men in the 45 to 55-year-old range that were kind of going through that midlife rut. I had to kind of establish the instance that, okay, like she can give them the tools to get out of that hole that they're in. So like they've tried all these different personal development tools and everything else, and nothing has worked for them. I had to establish why her process and her, kind of way of helping was actually going to get them out of the rut they're in. Um, and get them going towards the life that they wanted, even though nothing else has worked all along the way. So again, really helpful to bring that forward. Another example I just wanted to bring that forward was in the real estate space. So I'll kind of play you an example of this right here. Again, if you're thinking about the real estate space, if you're a complete beginner, if you know nothing about real estate, it makes it really hard to jump into an offer about investing in apartment buildings or buying single family homes or things like that. Something you have no expertise and experience in. Like there's a high hurdle in terms of getting over that belief of like, why am I going to jump into this if I'm going to struggle for years and years and years? Or this is just outside the bounds of what I'm doing here. So like, again, in your marketing, you kind of have to think about like, how can I take that beginner who knows nothing about real estate and start to think about like, how can I change the paradigm in their mind of like, okay, maybe you don't know anything about real estate right now, but this coach can give you the information that you need. But like, why is this important? Like, why do you have to invest in real estate? And why, why does this kind of change the game? Why should you listen to this offer in the first place? So I just want to play you this example, just a short clip. This is from a webinar from one of the coaches that I came across, and I think we'll put it into practice for me. It kind of resonated with me in terms of real estate, in terms of what we were looking for. So let me just play this short clip right here if I can find it. Just a second. Got so many tabs open that here it is. Okay, so this is just a really short clip that I'll put together. I'm just going to play this real quick. Helpful to just play it and okay, so that was just a quick example, but you can see how like he spent some time in terms of doing that right there in terms of just sharing that belief. So like changing that up a little bit, and you can see how he was before we even got to his offer around real estate coaching. He was trying to shift your belief in terms of getting to that one belief of why real estate was so important. In his case, talking about like buying assets. Like this is what the rich people do. This is what successful people do. they buy assets that generate cash flow, and kind of defining that. So like most people have an idea of assets in their mind. Again, he talked about like houses and cars and all those kind of things. Like, hey, under this definition, like actually no, because those things don't produce cash. If anything, they just take cash out of your pocket. So he's kind of redefining what an asset and a liability means, but also defining like, okay, like the people that you look up to, those people that have more money than you, more successful than you, like what is their secret, and kind of displaying that secret in their mind. So like, again, that was a really simple example, a little bit longer in terms of like a part of the webinar that he was using for the coaching, but like it's really important in your prospect's mind, especially when you're selling a 10K, 20K, 30K type of offer. They have to be in the right frame of mind to even be able to listen to your offer, because most people just want to rush to the offer, share all the details, the features, the benefits, and give them the price. And then they wonder why that person says, oh, well, it's too expensive, or hey, it's not the right time for me. Like anytime you're getting those type of responses, a lot of times they just they didn't even have the belief to be in the right frame of mind to even listen to your offer. So again, how have I been able to do that? A lot of times I would go into these selling high ticket in the early days, and I would kind of just guess what type of beliefs my high ticket type of clients needed. And along the way, in discussing with prospects, I would get a good framework of like, okay, I was missing this belief here. I was missing this belief here. And I would just get more and more successful as I was talking to more and more people. But I thought about like, okay, how can I kind of work backwards? How can I work with coaches and partners that already have a long list of successful clients and partners that have these great testimonials? And that's what I've been doing now. Like I only work with coaches and experts that are able to and willing for me to talk to some of their past and current successful clients, because that's a huge asset and a resource for me, because I can go back to those people and really, again, think about that belief shift. I can ask a series of questions to, almost bring them back to when they heard about that offer. What were that set of beliefs that they had before? And now that they've gone through the program, now that they've seen results, now that their life has changed, how can I think about those old beliefs that they had, and what are those new beliefs, and what was kind of the bridge between that? So, and effectively, I'm kind of working backwards. I'm taking those successful clients, I'm working backwards, and I'm trying to find that secret sauce. I'm trying to find that one belief that I really need to spend time on, so that all my prospects are in the right frame of mind to hear that offer. It might be a story that I put out there. It might be like, just like you heard with Hugh, and kind of going through just a simple example in terms of like, you think assets are this. Well, actually, the assets that you think are assets are actually liabilities. Here's what true assets look like, and kind of defining those things. So like really understanding where your prospects are right now, meeting them where they are, and kind of bridging that gap, so that again, they need to get to the spot where they can even be in the position to listen to your offer. Because if they don't have that, again, that one belief. Another example I'd provide is just a weight loss coach that I worked with. She kind of focused on balancing hormones. And one of the things that I found, again, I wasn't doing it at the time. I should have, gone back and talked to some of her successful clients. But like one of the things I did and learned is that most of these women weren't confident that she was going to be able to diagnose their hormone imbalance. So most of the audience had gone to past doctors and things like that, and they'd taken their best guess of what that hormone imbalance was. And that best guess turned out to be not true. So they went through a series of years and everything else where they're kind of struggling with their symptoms, and no expert, no doctor could figure out like, okay, what is actually wrong, going on with me, and what's the potential solution. So the expert that I was working with had a different series of testing, had decades of experience in kind of diagnosing some of these hormone imbalances and things like that. So I was able to kind of build that belief over time, but super important to establish like, okay, like what is that belief that your prospects might have? What do they have doubts about? And how can you address that upfront? Because if you don't address that upfront and kind of establish that key belief that they need, again, it's going to have, it's going to be the difference between your high ticket coaching program enrolling maybe 10 or 20 people versus like 100 people. Again, it's that big of a difference. So like think about your belief systems. And this is why it's really important to go back to anytime you have high ticket clients that have generated results, hit one of those key milestones, have a conversation with them, like record a case study. And I'll do future videos in the coming weeks about like okay, here's the questions that you should ask them, really thinking about the transformation that they've had, maybe like, again, physically, maybe in their world, but also mindset wise, like what does that belief shift look like? And really asking them, really digging down, like, okay, like what was your set of beliefs before you joined this program? What were some of those hesitations? What were those things in the back of your mind of like, is this going to work for me? And now that you've seen results, now that you've gotten results from me over the line, like what is your new set of beliefs? And really figuring out, like, again, like what is that, what's that thing you're hearing over and over again? What's that one belief that you are hearing from people that might have been a hesitation before, that you can start to address beforehand? It's all about kind of that pre-selling. So if we're not doing enough pre-selling, we're not going to have the results in terms of that high ticket coaching program coming through. So really think about, like, what is that one belief that they need to have? Maybe you don't know what it is right now, but again, work backwards from your best clients and think about, as you record some of these testimonials, again, one of the things I ask most, like every time I work with a coach or partner, let me do a video testimonial with them. Let me record it, because most people, if you ask for a written testimonial, it's going to be edited. It's not going to be as expansive. They're not going to elaborate on different things. And it gives you the ability to kind of ask follow-up questions. So there's going to be certain things that you might not even heard before that you can say, tell me a little bit more about this, or you said this, can you give me another example? Can you tell me a little bit more about that belief that you might have had before you joined, or that hesitation before you joined? You can actually go back to them and say, like, hey, out of all the objections that you had, all those hesitations that you had before joining my program, what would you tell somebody that had that same hesitation or objection right now in terms of joining my program? Now that you know what you know now that your life has changed, like what would you tell that person kind of going back in time? So it gives you the ability almost for your successful clients to almost talk back to those prospects and say, like, hey, everything's going to be fine because you need this one set of beliefs, because I can share all these specific things. So in many ways, you're asking your market to kind of create the marketing for you, and it creates a much larger result. It's how I can, again, enroll hundreds of people into a high ticket program versus like 5 or 10 that they might be getting from their sales team overall. Makes a huge difference in the differentiation of my process. I spend a lot of time in terms of that mindset, and I would encourage you to do the same if you've got a high ticket coaching program as well. Like, what is that one belief that your prospects need to know to be in the right place to accept your offer? So if this was helpful, hit that like button on whatever platform you're watching on. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and I'll see you on a future live.